Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards, welcoming you to InFocus, a weekly program that takes a closer look at what's happening within and across the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today we are taking a deep dive into the policies, partnerships and global representation driving St. Kitts and Nevis toward a resilient, sustainable future. First up, we examine the practical wins of Environment Month, celebrated in June, under the theme Climate Action for Environment, for Empowerment, for Everyone. We'll discuss groundbreaking local collaborations, greening the St. Kitts Music Festival, and tackling recycling waste head-on at the SWMC, which of course is the Solid Waste Management Corporation. Minister of Environment, Sustainable Development and Climate Action, the Honorable Dr. Joyelle Clarke, is here to share her insight. Then in segment 2, we pivot to the international stage. Joining the minister will be her permanent secretary, Sherilita Dore Tyson, and the Director of Economic Affairs and Public Sector Investment Planning, Auren. And they will unpack the Federation's powerful presentation at the United Nations High-Level Political Forum in New York, highlighting our voluntary national review, regional leadership under Sustainable Development Goals, and critical engagements with our diaspora. Stay with us for InFocus for a discussion on delivering the Sustainable Island State Vision.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Welcome back to InFocus, and allow me to welcome back to our show the Honorable Minister responsible for Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action, et al., the Honorable Dr. Joyelle Clarke. Minister, it's been a minute. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Welcome back to the InFocus studios. I like that. I like being here, so I'm happy to be back.
All right, and so we have so much to cover, as I mentioned at the top. We're going to do a special program in the sense that we're going to break the program in two because there's so much that we need to get into. And so let's jump first off into Minister. As I mentioned at the top, World Environment Day. Of course, that was celebrated on June 5. And it was celebrated with a series of activities throughout the month here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, what notable outcomes would you say were accomplished for the month?
Thanks for that question. And yes, for the Ministry of Environment, Climate Action et al., including solid waste and parks and beaches, we decided not only to join the global celebration of World Environment Day, but to extend it to Environment Month. And for us, the most notable accomplishments would be the Partnership for Environment. That was part of our goal to encourage more stakeholders to come on board with the Department of Environment and our partner departments, and for me that was a resounding success.
Was that a specific name of an initiative, or is it just something that you came up with?
Well, we do have an Environment for Everyone campaign, and in order to pursue that campaign, we recognized that we needed to have more collaborators and partners, in particular the private sector. Much of the environmental gains that we can make require close collaboration between government, private sector, and the continued partnership with the community-based organizations who have been some of our greatest friends. Yes.
And individuals as well, so it's not just about organizations. Every individual has a responsibility.
Correct. And that's really the what we're trying to push throughout the schools, throughout the communities, that it's not just the Ministry of Environment that's responsible for the environment. Everyone has a responsibility and should play a part.
Now, as I mentioned, the theme was Climate Action for Environment, for Empowerment, for Everyone, which essentially captures what you just explained. How impactful was this team in shaping the achievements?
For the month, we recognized that the partners who came on board understood the agenda, that it's not just about us, it's not just about our resources, but we are going to assess the impact of this Environment for Everyone campaign at the end of the year. I think we launched this sometime last year with our revamp of our community cleanup campaign. We're going to push it for a year to see how many more partners will come on board, the impact in the communities when we go to the schools, which we do on a very regular basis, to determine what level of success has been achieved or we achieved by using Environment for Everyone as our campaign.
And do you want to mention who some of these partners are? I appreciate you may not be able to mention all of them.
All of them, yes, I would want to. But for today, at least for Environment Month, we had particular partnerships with St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank in particular, our usual and closest partner, the Republic of Taiwan and the Taiwan ICDF program, and of course we partnered with other community groups, but we'll get into those specific partnerships and the successes that they yielded.
Right. Give us a sense of the activities, because of course, as I mentioned, there was a series of activities that were held over the months, and we're not going to go through all of them. Of course, there was quite a number of them, but give us a sense of those that really stood out in terms of having that impact.
Right. So yeah, we really maxed out the month, and we did so without having to expend a lot of government resources. We also had one of the newest partners who came on board a second time is UNICEF. Now, UNICEF came on board in January when we had our Climate Action and Youth Forum that was working towards the development of our nationally determined contributions 2.0, and then the partnership was so great, they said, hey, let's come on board again, and they came on board with us for our Green Expo. So UNICEF, National Bank, they were platinum partners for our Green Expo, and for me that was one of the most impactful activities that we had, not just because they had one of my favorite local dishes, which was conky, which was made by Andy Blanchett, and I ate the most, and I'm happy about that, but because we had UNICEF coming on board to push our climate and youth agenda and our environmental agenda. It was fully sponsored by National Bank, UNICEF, and of course some government resources. And then we were able to give space free of cost to a lot of our local entrepreneurs and small businesses who are pushing an environmental agenda, who are understanding the need to transition in how they prepare and package goods. And they were on board, our local craft vendors. So that for me was an experience, and I look forward to doing this bigger and better next year with even more partners who made it possible.
Before you move on to another activity, if there's another one that you have to mention, I should point out that the Green Expo was held on June 19th.
Yes.
And it was held under the theme bringing sustainability home, and that was at the Royal Bastia Valley National Park. So I imagine, based on what you're saying in terms of the vendors and those who have participated, that really honed in on that message, bringing sustainability home.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We often take for granted the innovation and creativity that exists already in St. Kitts and Nevis, that our partners are already pushing. And sometimes they just need a little support, a little helping hand, so that we could showcase to the world that sustainability is a homegrown effort. No matter how often we go overseas, no matter who we talk to, the number of persons, no matter how many resources we get, and we say here, unless the innovation and creativity is homegrown and home-owned, you're not going to have any advancement of the Sustainable Island State agenda. And that's why we are so particular about working this closely with our entrepreneurs, craft vendors, creatives, everybody who has an opportunity to push sustainability.
Any other activity besides the Green Expo that you care to mention?
Well, we did our usual visits to the schools. We did our forest dash that incorporated the primary schools in particular, and I think I didn't make that one deliberately. I cannot dash in a forest, but our young people, the young students were able to do that, and they had a blast. I know we have upcoming activities, fringe activities that are still happening, like we're preparing for an extreme hike. Some of the staff members were able to do some outside camping, but all of the engagements were geared towards bringing the local community on board with the Ministry of Environment?
Now, of course, there was an activity to take place involving the solid waste management that it was after an open day, but there was a fire at the landfill, and so that had to be cancelled. Is that something that you're looking forward to presenting, so that you always mention, of course, that it's important for persons to visit the landfill for themselves to see exactly what is happening there, the efforts in recycling, to understand how we as individuals can contribute to reducing our waste? Is that something that you intend to push forward, having that engagement for the public at the landfill?
Yes, and I'll speak about the landfill just now, but it would be, I think you're going to ask me either way about music festival. So let's not forget to talk about music festival as one of the most exciting experiences we had. But we didn't actually cancel the landfill event. We just moved it to the solid waste management headquarters, and the staff were there. They were very happy, and we participated in, that bonding exercise, showing appreciation to the staff. But you're right, because of the landfill fires, we weren't able to celebrate and invite persons to the landfill as we expected. And all of us saw on the statuses you drove past, anywhere you were in St. Kitts and Nevis, you could see this black smoke emanating from the landfill, which was, again, a poignant reminder for us that we have to do more about waste management in St. Kitts and Nevis. But solid waste is making some serious gains, and we can also get into that, because I'm ready to boast about the transformation at solid waste.
Well, let's go there, because I was going to mention the St. Kitts Recycling project. Of course, that is something that it's been, I think it's been the third year now that project has been implemented. Yes,
beyond 3 years, but beyond 3 years, it started, I don't want to say, but I know 2 ambassadors ago. And we've had, this is our third ambassador that
from the Republic of China.
I was reminded by ambassador, I can't remember his name. No, why I'm not remembering his name, but he's now based in New York, and we had a bilateral session together, and he reminded me that the solid waste recycling program started under his ambassadorial postage here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we since then had Ambassador Lin for 7 years, and now we have Ambassador Tao. But the important thing is that this relationship with the Republic of China, Taiwan, through the Taiwan ICDF, is generating for us serious gains. We've moved from recycling plastics to recycling, we're now collecting cardboard. We're also using, through solid waste, recycling and shipping metals, scrap metals. So we're seeing more and more persons are coming on board beyond just the school children who do this as on a competitive basis. And it's making its rounds. Our next commitment was to have recycling as a ministry-wide endeavor, and then as a private sector-wide endeavor. Of course, it's about transportation and logistics, but we are so willing to work with all the partners who want to come on board.
And the challenge with recycling, Minister, because it has to be ingrained within our people. It is something new, and we don't necessarily see from the onset that there are persons who are dedicated to recycling household waste. Unfortunately, even when there are receptacles that are placed for recycling of the plastic bottles, as you mentioned, aluminum cans, and also cardboard, we see persons still mixing organic waste with that. How much of a challenge is this?
This is forever going to Ambassador Tom Lee, that's his name. So it started under his ambassadorial posting. So this is forever going to be a challenge, because behavioral change is needed with waste management. And after the willingness for persons to say, okay, I need 4 receptacles and I'm going to use this color for this, etc., and your continued education, you then need enforcement. And that's the experience of most larger cities, where you're going to be fined by the city council if you put plastic in a compost bin, or you put out the wrong garbage on the wrong day, etc. We know that this early in the game, it's about education and behavior change. So we're focusing our education efforts on our younger cohort of children. We're also working with our mighty ambassadors, environmental ambassadors, who work along with us, who are also very integral in the success of our Environment Month. And we know that we don't want to go to enforcement, and Solid Waste Management Corporation is mindful of the fact that eventually we're going to have to generate options for persons, be it today, Tuesday, is Green Waste Day, Thursday, you know, it's plastic day, compostables. We know that there has to be a lot more community organization in terms of where do you put certain type of waste. Solid waste has made some strides in terms of giving you specific days around the Christmas season when you could put out your white goods we're going to collect. It also requires serious investment from the government to then provide solid waste and other private partners with options to have smaller collection bins if you're just going to come out and collect plastic bottles. But it's a strategic plan that we have to move towards, along with the country, the type of recycling and sorting at home that would make management of waste at the landfill better.
Right. And of course, one of the activities that notably happened during World Environment Day, which was June 5, it was a Friday, and I will remember because I participated in it. We saw at the Antioch Baptist Church, they came on board with the St. Kitts Recycling Project. And it was a historic first in the sense that I was told by the chair of the solid waste, Darren Edmead, that it's the first time a church has partnered with the St. Kitts Recycling Project in terms of hosting a bin. And it also was historic in the sense that it marks the first time that a recycling bin has been placed in the Limekiln area for persons in the village and surrounding communities to take advantage of that. You spoke about the importance of partnerships. I imagine that this is where this comes in.
Yes, I mean, kudos to Antioch Baptist Church and their membership and leadership, because this is exactly what we want. The church in itself is the space where you could get so much more done through the pastor saying this is a good thing, because we trust and believe in our leaders in the church. And so naturally, when Antioch Baptist decided that they're going to come on board with the environment, we jumped at it, because this is what good community stewardship is. And the placement of the bin there in and of itself says so much about Antioch Baptist recognizing its own responsibility to not just our spiritual souls, but our environmental lives. And we're very happy about that. We look forward to other churches coming on board and saying to us, hey, we would like to host a bin, we would like to partner in your recycling program, we would like to be part of the competition. We are willing, we work with you based on whatever you are offering, what you need to ensure that you are able to participate in the recycling project. No, and this is not the first time the Antioch Baptist Church has proven that it is very sensitive to environmental issues. I could recall that even in the construction of the facility, they were mindful about the space being able to function as a proper shelter, about having water catchment, etc. So it really says a lot when churches partner with the community and community can partner with the church and the government to really push environmental issues, which is really about protecting people. So we're very happy. Kudos to them.
Yes, and also they had their young persons engaged in water management, as you mentioned, in terms of projects that the young persons themselves get involved with. But also there's the sustainability aspect in terms of reef protection. That is also something that I've participated in, and the recently concluded Vacation Bible School, the theme was protecting and celebrating God's creation. So it really was a focus on understanding that everything that is in the earth was provided by God, and we have a responsibility to take care of it, and that's the message that was delivered directly to the children.
And that's an excellent message, because Christianity, and I'm no expert in spirituality and protecting God's resources, protecting the environment, protecting each other, it's all a part of how we live better on earth and how we serve God in doing so. So we want to thank Antioch, we want to thank all the other churches and the other camps who reached out to the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. Right now, our education unit has been actively visiting camps. We give our 15-minute lesson. We have our paraphernalia that we distribute to our good students who can answer the questions about sustainability. And we are here to engage and support even now any camp that wants us to come and do a quick lesson and fun lesson and give out some goodies.
I just need to contact the department.
Yes.
All right. Minister, let's also talk about partnership as well. And this time it's with a private sector entity, the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. Now, it served as the official sustainability partner for Environment Month, and you touched on it earlier in terms of their partnership as well too. Is this a new initiative that was launched earlier this year?
This is not the first time that National Bank has partnered with the ministry, but it is the first time we made it so spectacular, thanks to National Bank and their resources. I would say also that not just at Antioch Baptist Church, but we have bins placed around the island at other locations. So we're seeing an increasing interest by community members to work with our bin and our recycling programs. So I just want to give everybody a little shout out for that too. But National Bank came on board and recognized, which is exactly what we want the private sector to do, recognize not only the wins for partnering with the Ministry of Environment, but the wins for being a sustainability partner. All over the world, we're seeing the private sector acknowledging that green transitions is not only cost effective, it's profit making. And if you offer solutions, especially through your, let's say, business, your investment portfolio, your loan portfolio, etc., there's so many creative ways in which multilateral development banks are offering concessionary options to local banks to invest with small businesses and entrepreneurs, etc. So National Bank has put its hand out and said, hey, we want a partner, and naturally we would. And the relationship is ongoing. It's proving that the private sector is the critical partner, not just for the resources, but also for the opportunities, training, options they could offer to anyone who wants to come on board. So we thank National Bank for that partnership and look forward to them partnering with us again for Sustainability Month, which is coming up. We have Climate Week, which is also coming up, and we know that with them we have a secure partnership.
Was the partnership more than just sponsoring? Because most persons believe that they should be just funding, and you're good with that. Did they have activities that encourage their staff members to go green and to be more sustainable? The institution itself, is that setting the example?
Right, and that's exactly what we want, and that's an excellent question, and that's exactly what we want from when someone comes on board. It's not about the resources that you give, it's the messaging, it's what happens in your institution when you decide that we're going to come on board as a sustainability partner. Now, we're working to ensure that the partners don't just come with resources, but they participate. And National Bank actively participated in our Green Expo. Second levels include, how do we have this conversation about ensuring you green your office? So we had that Green Your Office challenge where we say, hey, there are so many ways in which, beyond just turning off the lights, you can green your office. You could recycle, you can encourage volunteers, and encourage persons to just be more conscientious about how you use resources. In our ministry, for example, we had bottled water when we started, probably the first 2 or 3 months, and we realized that if we're going to have a single bottle water for every time everybody needs to drink water, you're going to have a lot of plastic bottles. Right. You're creating a problem. And so immediately we decided no more bottled water. Everybody has to come with their flask, and we're going to have one water station. It allows you to get up, walk around, take a hydration break, stretch your legs, etc. But these are the steps that we engage with our partners and sponsors. Like, what can you do in your institution to be more conscientious, more green, to green your office, to green the experience? And how do we get more of your staff to participate in activities that we're hosting? Now, our big push for the end of the year would be our coastal cleanup, where we want the private sector, along with our students, to come on board in our national coastal cleanup event. We're still fine-tuning those details, but we expect to see not just National Bank, Republic, all of the institutions, the Chamber, the RAMS, the Value Mat, everybody out with us cleaning with your staff as part of your own green initiative. So we look forward to that.
And Minister, you touched on it earlier, as I mentioned in the opening, the Green in the St. Kitts Music Festival. That is something that was very exciting for the ministry. Thousands and thousands of people attend the St. Kitts Music Festival. You have more or less a captive audience there.
And guess what? The same thing that you mentioned earlier happened where I think when I did my first, we had to do rounds, and I went to the station and I said, are people using the bins exactly? And one of the workers said, you see that bin that says plastic only? We're here. And somebody just came and just dumped all their food. And I say, yeah. And you know that means when you're doing the weighing, you have to sift through a little bit, but they were all in good spirits, and this was a collaborative effort between the St. Kitts Music Festival, who we really thank, the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste, and other volunteers and our ambassadors all over. Now, the thing is, we saw this, I think this was done in Antigua at a festival they had. And we said, hey, this is a great idea, so let's try it for music festival. We also had our influencers doing videos on the videos before and during the music festival. So they came up on the screen, which was prime time, and we thank the St. Kitts Music Festival again for that kind of prime time viewing. But the effort is, even when you're partying and having fun, you can be environmental. You can think about sustainability. It's not something that's adjunct to your life. You're a sustainable person. We want to have a sustainable island state. So even in our partying and celebrations, we have to consider the environment. And we have to see, what does a music festival, what percentage of waste or type of waste does a St. Kitts Music Festival generate? And that goes into the cost of music festival, because it's an environmental cost. There's a transportation cost. There's a cost to move all this waste from the music festival grounds to the Solid Waste Management Corporation landfill. And at the landfill, there's also a cost for us, because there's an increased percentage of waste for those 3 days or 4 days, and we have to manage it. So this is all an attempt for us to be more holistic about how we think about sustainability. It's not just in the offices, it's not just in the schools, but even when we have events, we're looking forward to managing waste and disposing of waste more responsibly.
So we can expect to see more as it relates to larger public events and national festivals?
Correct. Even when persons are now reaching out to us to use our Arboretum, where we hosted our Green Expo, the big lines, not even fine lines, says you must have that recycling aspect to your event, regardless of what the event is. There are messages that we want to share, because if you're going to use an environmental space that we're maintaining through parks and beaches and other systems, then you must maintain it with that green hat on.
We're almost at the bottom of the hour, Minister, can you imagine? But I'll give you an opportunity to speak about another aspect of the recycling, because we mentioned plastic bottles, cardboards, aluminum cans, and also soft metals. But it's also including hard metals as well, in the sense of vehicles. There are a number of derelict vehicles that have littered the landscape across St. Kitts and Nevis. And unfortunately, there are some, well, I really shouldn't say it, but there are some persons who are mechanics that just have vehicles and they're just spread out. Even on land that may not be occupied by someone at the time. There is a push by the Solid Waste Management Corporation to get rid of a lot of that waste. Tell us about that.
Yes, and this is a big push. Now, so for the past 3 years, since we started this derelict vehicle operation, or continued it rather, we have already moved over 1,000 1,000 plus derelict vehicles from the streets, the fields of St. Kitts. However, in the last 3 months, we made a really concerted push to address the derelict vehicle issue. And so far, we've removed from the villages of Keyon 118, Monkey Hill 37, Shadwell 17, around the Connery area 14, totaling 209 vehicles so far. And I want persons to understand that every vehicle moved comes with a cost, over $100 US. Can you imagine that? Every single vehicle left comes with a cost, but thankfully there is a way to recover the cost, because we have since shipped about 30 40-feet containers exporting scrap metal, which means we collect that vehicle, we pay, but then we can ship and we can recover some cost. And what I want personally is that it's not the Solid Waste Management Corporation that's doing this, but it's a small business, it's a private enterprise. You go, you purchase the crane or the actual equipment needed to move the vehicle, it's charged, we pay, you ship. you make a business of it, because we said here on the show before that there is so much value in waste that people don't understand. For now, Solid Waste Management Corporation is assuming the cost and shipping to recover so that we can continue. And we, in the last 3 months of this exercise, we are still in the Keyon Connery area. We have all the other villages to go. So thousands of vehicles can be moved. I hope somebody who's listening me now could have the bright idea to go and find a way to make this their small business and do it, because we want to partner with people.
Have there been pushback from persons in the community? No, my vehicle is not a derelict vehicle. I imagine that's some of that.
And naturally, and that's part of the delay that we experienced in the beginning, where as soon as you show up, there's a complaint from a community, from a group, etc. This vehicle's here, it's on our playing field, it's on our football, our basketball court. That's so unfair. And when we show up, when the little warden, because there's a process, the little warden shows up, it's flagged, you could see the evidence that it's just there, it's causing challenges, and we show up and we're ready to flag and move. Oh, no. This engine works, and legislatively we have to abide by the engine turn on. Okay, it's not derelict. But that required us to work, one, to look at our own legislation to fix it, which we are doing actively at Solid Waste, and two, to also have deeper conversations with mechanics, etc. And then on the sustainable side, we recognize that instead of telling mechanics, Lord, you can't be here, we had to provide solutions for them. So PS Dore, when she comes on, can talk about some of the new solutions that we've opened up in terms of land access for mechanics. So it's a wholesome, fulsome approach to addressing the derelict vehicle from all parts of the ministry. But yeah, people are complaining that we're going with their vehicle, but your vehicle is causing more problems for the community, and we really have to work on that. So if you know of an area that's really problematic, you call Solid Waste, you call your little wardens. We now have a full slate of little wardens, voluntary and persons who are compensated. And if you want to voluntarily serve as a little warden, you can contact us and we'll just sign up and get you your documentation so that we can come to your community and move the vehicles. But we're moving strategically through the country, so we won't leave Keyon to go Sandy Point and then come back out. We're just moving through. So it's important that you flag the vehicles now so that we can do it. And our constituency empowerment officers did a lot of this flagging in the past 2 years of their data collection exercises, so we know where the majority of them are.
Right, okay, Minister. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it right there. As you mentioned, the PS is going to be joining us along with Mr. Manners to speak about the high-level political forum on sustainable development that took place from July 7 to 15 at the United Nations. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break and have them join us on set. While the break is happening, we're actually going to play your national statement that you presented to the United Nations at that time.
All right.
Stay with us, viewers and listeners. We'll be right back with more In Focus.
President, Excellencies, the question before us is not whether the Sustainable Development Goals remain relevant, but rather what we must do to accelerate delivery ahead of 2030. St. Kitts and Nevis believes acceleration and real progress require innovative solution building focused on cross-sectoral institutional strengthening and forging partnerships of ambition and implementation. Allow me to share 2 examples of important strategic partnerships and investments in energy and public health. Like many states, high energy costs, volatile markets, climate vulnerability, and changing geopolitical realities have constrained our development. Today, we are writing a different story. Across the Caribbean, we are demonstrating that energy sovereignty through a clean energy future is no longer aspirational, it is achievable. For St. Kitts and Nevis, this is millions in investments in geothermal development, utility-scale solar generation, and the modernization of our electricity grid with partners such as the Republic of China, Taiwan, the EU, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Green Climate Fund, all towards strengthening our energy security, enhancing economic competitiveness, and contributing to a more resilient energy future for our region. Our second lesson comes from an unexpected place. 2 years ago, we began treating crime and violence as a public health challenge by addressing its root causes through prevention, community engagement, and social investment. Crime declined by 75% in 2025, the largest reduction in our history. Our experience now informs a landmark regional CARICOM United Nations framework on violence prevention, reminding us of the importance of security to the Human Development Agenda. The success began with partnerships founded on trust, mutual respect, and a commitment to national ownership. When countries and partners invest in local capacity, transformative change becomes possible. This year, St. Kitts and Nevis presents its second voluntary national review in 3 years, alongside our first voluntary local review on the island of Nevis. Together, they reaffirm that through our sustainable island state agenda, implemented through our National Development Planning Framework, the SDGs are not separate from our national aspiration. They are the blueprint for our future. That is what delivering better means, and that is how we accelerate.
Welcome back to InFocus. We are joined on set along with the Minister. It will be the Permanent Secretary, Sherilita Dore Tyson, within the Ministry of Sustainable Development, and also Auren who is the Director of Economic Affairs and also Public Sector Investment Planning. Welcome to both of you. Back to the program. You've been here before.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Ian, for having us.
And so we want to jump right into the high-level forum now that took place at the United Nations. I mentioned that it was held on July 7th to the 15th. What is the purpose of this high-level forum, and why was it such a priority for St. Kitts and Nevis to participate?
Well, let me say the HLPF serves as the central global platform for the tracking and review of the international community's progress on the achievement of the 2030 agenda. As you know, we have 17 SDGs, that's the goal. And so the meeting brings together the global community where you sort of measure the progress of each country. And so we always say the VNR is like a measuring tape. It gives you an idea of how far you are along the line, of the progressive line. And so the ministry was represented, the Honourable Minister led the delegation, and Auren and I, and another staff member, Samantha, we accompanied her this year. Why is it important? It's important to St. Kitts because it allowed us to give the St. Kitts Nevis spin. It allowed us to give the St. Kitts Nevis perspective in our own unique way. We are saying to the world, listen, this is where we are. Just as I said, it's a review of the progress that we have made so far as a country. So that is why it is a critical meeting for us to participate in.
And I note that the first voluntary national review, or the VNR, as you called it, as it's commonly known, was presented in 2023. And St. Kitts and Nevis has the distinction of being one of the only 2 member states of the OECS sub-region to present more than one VNR. And also, as it relates to CARICOM, I believe there are only 8 countries in total that also were presented at the VNR, the second VNR. So talk to us a bit about the significance of why we had to present a second VNR. Why not just do like others and say, we're only going to have one?
Because we asked. It's not that we like work, because the VNR is a lot of work. It was a lot of late nights, a lot of late days. But as I said, we have to let the world know this is where we are on this spectrum. This is how far we have reached. And having the data, analyzing the data, presenting the data, we realize, okay, these are some of our strengths, these are some of our weaknesses, these are some of the changes that we have to make in order for us to reach that 2030 milestone.
What are some of the highlights of what was presented between 2023 and what was presented this year?
Okay, Auren, you can.
Well, yes, I can testify to the fact that it's a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights involved in the preparation of the VNR. But as the PS said, it's an important accountability tool for us to measure where we are. Since the last VNR in 2023, we have made significant strides. And if you look at the current document, the current VNR, you will see that the measurement of where we are in terms of the different SDG indicators has increased substantially across a number of SDGs, including water, energy, SDG 16, which has to do with security. So there has been measurable progress. It was a lot of work to do a second VNR in such a short period of time. I think the other country to have done 2 reviews in 3 years is St. Lucia. And as she said, we've not only done 2 reviews, we've done 3 because we've done the NEVIS voluntary local review in 2025. So we've effectively done 3 reviews in 3-4 years, which is good. And just to wrap up, there's still more work to be done. We do intend to do a final review in 2030, just before the minister will decide, but the work continues.
I should add, maybe I think PS is just about to add it, our successes in watering, for example.
Yes. This particular meeting, we focus on 5 SDGs in particular. We focus on clean water and sanitation. We focus on affordable and clean energy. We focus on SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, and SDG 17, partnerships for the goals. So those are the focus of this particular meeting.
And with regard to why we should share with the world. Now, 2 years ago, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance gave us a charge. He needed all PSAs when presenting their budget estimates to ensure that they were addressing a particular SDG. Now, if we're going to present to the nation that we want to be a sustainable island state and we have our national development planning framework and our budget is SDG aligned, then we have to have that level of accountability.
Yes.
And in some cases, we also have to take advantage of the opportunity to share not just with St. Kitts and Nevis and the region and the world that our commitment and investments in SDG 6, for example, clean water and sanitation, where we have pushed for the eradication of pit latrines, and where we are now seeing, is it a 75% increase, move from 25% to 70% increase in persons in the Federation having access to 24/7 access to water because of the commissioning of the Keon well, as well as the desalination plant and the monies invested there. And with affordable and clean energy SDG 7, the Minister of Energy, who led our VNR presentation, clearly made it very clear that with the upcoming RFP that's out for the solar power, the solar plant, the solar PV project, we're also going to be making significant gains on the energy. So all of the work, all of the investments, and having our Minister of Finance say, let's prioritize energy, let's prioritize water. It's reaping the benefits, and we have to demonstrate this not just to locally but to our international partners so that they can be more confident coming on board with our projects and recognizing that St. Kitts and Nevis is a serious partner. And as Minister said, we're doing something here.
Of course,
certainly. And Ian, you cannot report on what you cannot measure. And that is what the VNR is. It's a measuring tool to see how far along the progress line we are.
The inclusion of data from NEVIS as well is certainly important. It's one federation.
Yes.
And the NEVIS itself has the resource of geothermal that is more likely to be developed as opposed to St. Kitts. I think there's some exploration taking place. But of course, with geothermal, then that helps the energy aspect of it. It's all a part of the SDG. It's all a part of the federation reporting.
Correct. When geothermal comes on stream, NEVIS is not going to be measured as NEVIS for energy. It's the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and that's why the partnerships that we're seeking between the EU or the CDB or GCF is a St. Kitts Nevis energy project. Be it geothermal, be it solar energy, be it wind, be it thermal, ocean thermal. It's about SDG 7 and how it is reflected for St. Kitts and for Nevis.
Definitely.
You mentioned the presence of the Honorable Congress Maynard, of course, the Minister of Public Infrastructure responsible for energy as well, to participating in the meeting. Why was it so important, Minister? The strategy behind having 2 federal ministers present at that time.
That's the amount of work that had to be done. That's just simply the amount of work that had to be done. Now, because as PS noted, we are reporting on the SDGs that pertain to Minister Maynard's ministry, and she can speak a little bit more about that. And on the other end, I'm also the Vice President of the United Nations Environmental Bureau, so we also have an obligation to show up. The Minister and I, the number of bilaterals and other sessions that we had to participate in required that our energies would be split. We overworked this particular team. I am not ashamed to say it, but I have to acknowledge it, that it, and what people are seeing in 1 week of VNR presentation, there is a full year of work behind doing this VNR, and the last 3 months were particularly hectic. Emails at 2 a.m., 11 a.m., constant back and forth, and with the partnership and support of the UN mission, Ambassador Murchis Williams and Minister Councillor Wallace, we still overworked and really pushed for the week, but it was so critical that we did it, and hence the need for the 2.
And let me just add as well, it just shows the synergy in the government. Remember I said the SDGs is not a Ministry of Sustainability thing, it's a government thing, so we have to use a government approach. The data is in the various ministries, the data is in the various departments, and so it's a collective approach to this report. So that is why the Minister Maynard was part of this. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you're going to ask us about how we presented it, because he presented it with a very unique St. Kitts Nevis flair. So I'm sure that is going to be your next question.
Right, and actually I was going to touch on the fact that there were, as you mentioned, 5 of the sustainable development goals discussed, and there are 17 of them, of course. But we'll just mention the 5 again. We have SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation, SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy, SDG 9, which is industry, innovation and infrastructure, and SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities. And SDG 17, which is partnerships for the goals, for accomplishing that. Tell us about how that was presented, as you mentioned, that presentation that was done, and update us on some of the key points presented under each segment.
Well, let me talk about the latter part. Auren and the minister can always fill in on the first part. Let me tell you, we did something different. And to be quite honest, if we had 5 more minutes, Minister, I am very sure it would have broken out into a St. Kitts Nevis jam session. We had the whole the whole floor engaged, because Minister Maynard did it very uniquely, a real St. Kitts Nevis flair. I mean, when you hear we're doing something, everybody got onto it, because people became interested in what we were saying, and at the end, everybody was like, where you all came from? Where have you been all this? You know, it was really, really a very successful event.
So what did he use? What was his techniques? You mentioned the flair. What was the techniques?
It's repetition. Repetition was key. After almost every paragraph, because we had our screen, we had our presentation, and he said, we're doing something. So every time we mention one of the key points or one of the key achievements for the SDGs, we're doing something. And very soon the whole floor got onto it. We're doing something, you know. So the presentation was par excellence. We could not complain. It was really, hands down, the best presentation of all the countries that presented. Or when you want to give us some key points as to what we did in the actual presentation?
Yes, so I'll focus on 3 areas. We have limited time. Water, it was easy to speak about water, because obviously there's been a lot of progress since 2023 with the desal plant and the well drilling. We also have donor funding in the pipeline from the Green Climate Fund, specifically for water, which we should realize by next year. So it was easy to speak about water. I think water formed one of the strongest parts of the presentation. Moving on to energy, of course, geothermal was the flagship initiative, and of course, that's a Nevis-born project, but now a federal project. And being someone from Nevis, I'm very pleased to see the integration between St. Kitts and Nevis and both islands. So although energy is at an earlier stage, where we talk about solarize and drive initiatives, and also the solar farm that is to come, it's clearly at a point where acceleration is on the brink. Okay, so water and energy were easy to talk about. SDG 11, which falls under our minister, we focus on the squatter regularization initiative, and we sought to bring out how that impacts people. So we didn't want a presentation that just focuses on statistics, but also on how persons were impacted by this initiative.
All about people. Yes.
Finally, although we had focused SDGs, we were able to respond about SDGs that were not in the 5. SDG 16 was important for us because of the public health approach to crime. So in most of our presentations at the forum, we said something about that because that is innovative for St. Kitts and Nevis, and it was important for us to bring that out.
And the results speak for themselves. Minister, I know that you mentioned it also in your national statement that we just heard. The results speak for themselves. There is that significant decrease in crime. It is a strategy that has been recognized by the United Nations, by CARICOM, and it is something that is very successful.
It is, and we were very happy to use that as one of our framing for partnership for the goals and for peace and security, because you can't have sustainable lives if you're not at peace. We can see it, whether it's in Sudan, whether it's Gaza, whether it's, you must have peace. And for us, peace, all things being local, peace has to be that sense of security, that reduction in crime. And we are very happy to share with the world that this approach to crime as a national health issue worked for St. Kitts and Nevis, and so much so that it is becoming a flagship approach for the United Nations. I would also add, the PS forgot to mention that after the presentation, everybody came to St. Kitts and Nevis and they said, we've seen hundreds of VNR presentations, and these are people from the UN. We didn't ask them anything, and they said this was the best ever. The detail, the presentation style, and again the leadership from Minister Maynard, who led our first VNR as well. So it was an excellent team, Ian, and I am so happy as the Minister with responsibility for sustainable development to have this team behind us, to have the support of Minister Maynard, and to really have the recognition from various partners at the UN that St. Kitts doing something. St. Kitts and Nevis doing something.
Right. I was going to ask about the feedback from the presentation, but I'll take it a bit further, Mr. Manners. I probably couldn't include you there because, of course, your responsibility includes public sector investment. How likely, and Minister, of course, jump in if you feel free, how likely is this presentation at the UN able to assist St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of achieving its sustainable island state goals, in terms of attracting more investment, in terms of ensuring that there is issues such as climate justice? It is something that has always been on the table, and move forward that agenda with support from the international partners, realizing, of course, SDG 17 speaks to that.
I'm happy you mentioned climate justice. I had the opportunity to participate on a panel that spoke about the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis is considered to be a high-income country and how that affects our access to finance. St. Kitts and Nevis has been the first country to pilot what we call the Vulnerable Resilience Country Profile, and that was done last year. That is a step that needs to be taken if we are to move forward at the global level with the multi-dimensional vulnerability index. And that index will allow countries such as St. Kitts and Nevis to move beyond this assessment of high income, which is based on gross national income, and look at other vulnerabilities of small islands such as ours. So we were pleased to participate in the panel and also to pilot that initiative, the first country in the world, to move forward the MVI, hopefully to be finally implemented at the UN level. Beyond that, of course, partnerships are key, and participating in the different events, we were approached by different partners. The minister could elaborate. I mean, I myself participated in a water panel, and I was approached by the country Malta, who is it's an island of about 400,000 persons, but they have made significant progress in water, and they are offering us our innovative ideas. And that's just an example of how the forum works for us.
3 minutes left.
Sure. Just briefly, but PS could continue with all the bilateral engagements that we had. People, if you don't show up to spaces, people don't talk to you. And if you don't have data to prove that what you want, which is a sustainable island state, to back up that you're actually making strides, people aren't going to take you seriously. And the fact that UN Habitat and all these other folks are saying, yeah, St. Kitts and Nevis is serious about they're building climate smart homes. They want to have energy. They want to have renewable energy. They want to give water to everyone. And they reached out to us, and PS has the daunting task of all the follow-ups and all the reports, so that when we show up again for UNGA, we are saying, this is how we want to partner. Even though just from these meetings we had at HLPF, we have to sit with our JEF9 team to see how we could program funds, get more access. But PS, please explain to them the importance of these meetings.
Very quickly, PS.
But I really think we should stress a bit on the other engagement that we had, which is the town hall meeting. I'm sure we're going to come back and we can further discuss that. But I have to mention our diaspora meeting, because that was also one of our successes when we were there last week. We engaged the diaspora on Tuesday evening, and it was really, Minister, how should I describe it? It was enlightening to hear from our very own people who live in the New York area. What were some of the things that they were interested in? They were interested in everything. I was surprised. They talk about energy, they talk about water, security, they talk about public infrastructure. These are their concerns, and we were able to address these concerns along with both ministers leading, of course. They had land questions, so we had land consultations as well. And it was really an eye-opener for me, because we think, they're over the end, but they are Kittitians and Nevisians just living in a different space. And so that meeting was really an eye-opener for me. And I just want to use this opportunity to thank the diaspora for coming out. It was a very successful meeting on Tuesday, right?
Okay, I actually was going to touch on the diaspora aspect of it, and it's important that you mentioned that, because of course persons are remaining connected.
Yes.
Persons are familiar with what's happening at home. They have a vested interest. They still have families here. Some persons intend to retire in St. Kitts and Nevis, and so that is certainly important for them to continue to have that engagement. And of course there is a regional diaspora engagement taking place currently by the regional integration and diaspora unit, where there are some descendants of persons from St. Kitts and Nevis are currently here immersing themselves in the culture, and the responsibility is then to go back and to not only build that bridge within themselves, but also become ambassadors more or less for St. Kitts and Nevis. Minister, we are almost out of time, but as the PS mentioned in terms of land, and that was an issue that persons were critically engaged in, I believe that there is a development at Cabbage Tree and Karen that you'd like to share about us.
Sure, and PS could speak even more about it. And the development is for Cabbage Tree, for Lemon Hill, persons who are assigned lots in these areas, they are free to go and survey.
Certainly.
And start the construction of their homes. And we are very, very happy to say this. Now, the ministry has worked very diligently over the past year with the farmers who occupy these lots. 300 plus lots in some cases. We have said it in Parliament. We've been here on InFocus. We said it. We've said it on ZIZ Radio. We've said it in all our sessions that everybody deserves to survive, whether you are a farmer, whether you are a household, a landowner, because you want to construct your home. We have to pursue fairness, and fairness here is that one farmer cannot occupy lots assigned to 300 plus persons. But PS will say more of what the ministry did, but I need to say clearly, the court dismissed any claims against the government. The court made it very clear that we have every right to clear lands and make them available to the respective landowners. And PS can tell you how much we engaged, all that we did, and how many times she showed up in court for these land matters. But people should go and clear the lands in Cabbage Tree and in Lemon Hill.
I believe you described that as the PS that deals with most legislation. Talk to us in terms of the court representation. Talk to us, please.
Well, as the minister rightly said, the land situation with the farmers, let me first thank the farmers very much, because we had many of them who came forward and said, yes, okay, now I understand, what can I do? And the ministry engaged them, this is what you can do, these are the alternatives. It's not are there against us. It's a holistic approach because it's all part of national development. And so what we've done with many of them, some of them, one of them in particular, a very large commercial farmer, he said, Pierce, allow me 3 more months to weed my tomatoes. Allow me 3 more months to weed my lettuce. And I said, sure. You know, so you have that kind of relationship with the farmers. Of course, you're going to have 1 or 2 who didn't want to have a conversation, and then when the decision was made, they feel that they become the victim. But most of the farmers, we work very well with them. We had no issues. We had farmers in Lemon Hill. I mean, that particular one, he updates me regularly. I've almost moved. You can come. You can you know. So we have that kind of relationship. We had farmers in Newton Ground, in St. Paul's. So it's island-wide, and so we've maintained that relationship with the farmers. It's a cohesive approach. It's not a them and versus us. That's not how we operate. Okay, so thank everyone so far. As the minister rightly said, those farmers, those in Lemon Hill, you can now go and do your building because we have people with plans, people with surveys, they can now go. Keon, Cabbage, Phase 3, the very same thing. They can now go and do their construction. The path has been clear for you to do what you need to do.
And in some cases, they've been waiting for years and years.
Yes, people have been waiting for years with their plans.
I own the land, I am ready to move forward with my home, and I'm unable to.
Certainly, and some people, as they tell you, they're paying rent and they still have a mortgage facing them, and they haven't built because somebody was using the land.
Yes, we're out of time, Pierce. We'll have to leave it there. You need to come back. We need to come back and have a much longer discussion on land issues. Of course, it's something that a lot of persons, and as you mentioned, in the diaspora as well, too, that they're concerned about. So, Auren Manners, Pierce, Sherilita, Dore, Tyson, and of course, Minister Dr. Joyelle Clarke. We're so grateful for you joining us on this edition of InFocus.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian, and certainly we will come back.
Yes.
We'd like to thank you, viewers and listeners, for being with us. We trust that you will join us again next week at the same place, at the same time for another edition of InFocus. Remember, we discuss your government, your business. I'm Ian Richards.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.